How you doing? Good. All right, thank you. That's a little better. My name is John Williams, the Director of Youth Services for the Townships of Oak Park and River Forest. I'm your MC, moderator, bouncer, whatever role is required as we go through the night. So welcome. In Ireland, there's a saying that I can't pronounce, but it's 100,000 welcomes. You can't get welcomed enough. You can't belong enough. So welcome. This is what community is, right? Full contact, sit down, talk with people, get a little uncomfortable. That's the invitation for the night. Okay? We're going to talk a little bit more about the rest of the process in a few minutes. All right, it is a pleasure. I want to introduce you to our first speaker, who's going to speak for about 15-20 minutes, I believe. And her name is Diane Bush. She's a Student Assistance Program Consultant. Sure. And so please join me in welcoming Diane.
Thank you very much. I want to congratulate you for the way that you have really kind of positioned all of this, because for so many years it has been a lot of finger pointing. I've been doing this for 37 years now, and yes, I was about 5'10" before I started doing this. And for years we did finger pointing. It was the parents' problem, it was the school's problem, the police should be fixing the problem, and really the whole problem of kids and substance abuse belongs to all of us. And it's only with all of us working together that we're going to be able to respond in a very efficient and effective way to this issue and to keep our kids healthy and safe. I drug tested 67 students today. Probably about 7 or 8 of them were students that were mandatory because they had had an athletic code violation. In my school, the first athletic code violation that has to do with alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs, because we do not differentiate between tobacco and other drugs. Kids have to be drug tested the next 3 times we have random drug testing. Second violation, they are drug tested the next 6 times that we have random drug testing. It's very interesting to me because I do not see drug testing as a way to catch kids. We drug test twice a season for the 3 seasons, so twice during fall season, twice during winter season, twice during spring season. Maybe in a year we have 4 positive drug tests that come back. What our kids tell us, I had a student last year who had an athletic code violation, and in the meeting he asked if he could be put on the drug testing list. He said, I want to be drug tested because for me, it's the way that I can say no and know that my friends are not going to make fun of me. If I say that my mom will be mad at me, not so good. But if I say soccer is really important to me and I don't want to lose that, that's something that my friends will listen to. So we actually have kids who ask to be drug tested because, again, it's another strategy for them to be able to say no. The other thing that I wanted to touch on today was talking about dog searches. Again, at a former high school that I worked at, they had never done dog searches. We actually decided to do dog searches when a student came to me. She was a student leader and said, I'm sick of going out for open lunch and seeing kids unscrewing their headlights in the parking lot and pulling out bags of weed. When is the school going to do something? Now, we were doing a lot, but there's a lot that we do for prevention that is not visible to kids. And so we began talking about bringing in the canines through the police departments to do dog searches. And it is something that we presented to our board, but we presented in a way, really, again, that we were not bringing dogs in to catch kids. We were bringing the dogs in to support all of our non-using kids. And because we believe that our students have the right to learn in a safe and drug-free environment. And it is one of the ways that we can ensure that their environment will be safe and drug-free.
We had a discussion at our table about using police dogs. My only statement towards that would be if you were to decide to do this, or the school was to decide to do this, you may want to use police dogs in that show for the first couple, because you're making a statement as a community that this is not tolerated in our school. And that's really what you're doing. When you bring in that kind of a show of force, you're announcing to everybody that this is not going to be tolerated here, where our children learn. Then you can go into a passive system, which is actually probably a better way to do it overall over time, because the students get used to it. It would probably help later on.
What we do with our drug testing program at St. Pat's is the kids have a hair test. We take 10 to 15 kids randomly out of class during the day, every day, and cut off a little bit of their hair, and we send it out to a company out in California, Psychomedics, who are experts in the field of hair testing, and they literally grind the hair up into liquid form, and then they test it for marijuana, cocaine, opiates, PCP, methamphetamine, and we even, prescription drugs get tested in there, such as Vicodin, codeine, things like that, all go through the testing. Then what happens after that, the information comes back to the school, the dean gets the information, and the best part, in my opinion, of our program is a letter goes out to every single parent after your kid's tested. The greatest letter you can get is the one that comes home that says, hey, guess what? Your kid tested clean. Our program is meant to be therapeutic, not punitive. So our program has been very consistent over the last 7 years that we've been testing. And what I mean by that is our numbers have stayed below the national averages for kids that test positive. That means that we see typically about 2% of our student body has tested positive pretty much consistently every year. Now, I think part of the reason why that would be is because we think our program works. It does what it set out to do. It gives kids a tool. The other thing is, which is probably a little different from, OPRF, would be the fact that when you come to our school, you agree to be tested. So the majority of the kids that choose to come to our school aren't using our already. They're not doing that. That's one of the reasons why they choose to come to our school.
What I learned tonight that I was surprised about is that there is not a student assistance program in place at OPRF. And I think that is really the first piece that needs to be addressed because, dog searches will probably expose students who need some help, and if there isn't the help in place at the school to get them some, outside resources and whatever, outside of the woman who's already in charge, I think that that's primary. I am in favor of dog searches as long as the students are not in contact with the dogs.
I'm very glad that I came. Very honest conversation, no finger pointing, everyone taking responsibility for this issue and being willing to work together. I'm so glad I came.
I've been at the other meetings, and this was a very good one because it was direct conversation on three key action issues, being the drug testing, and the dogs in the closed campus. So real proactive, and I was pleased to see the amount of parents here.
I don't have concerns about the implementation of the dog searches and the drug testing. Yeah, I think particularly for those that are involved in athletics and extracurriculars, I certainly don't have a problem with it. I think it sets up a dynamic of expectations for the students.
I think drug testing is important as a deterrent. However, I do think the approach is very important because I don't want our kids to feel like they're being criminalized in any way. I think the approach is important in terms of keeping them safe and accountable for their actions.